Everyone, welcome to Intuit Canada yet again. I am so excited to see some new faces here in our space. It's a beautiful space. I feel very privileged to work here. My name is Kristen Tracy, and I am a design manager here at Intuit, and I lead a team on the Intuit design system. So my team specifically focuses on the foundational aspects of the design system, like tokens, components, patterns, all the goodness that makes a design system a design system. But our design system is unique, where we have other teams that focus on building agentic and AI patterns. So building the tools that designers and developers at Intuit actually use to craft AI experiences. And then we have another team that works to integrate our design system into agents. And I'll get into how we do that a little bit later. Hello? Oh my God, my slides are here. Everybody clap for my slides. Okay, very sorry about the technical difficulties, but we're up and running. Actually, I don't have my clicker. There we go. Thank you. Okay, so that was anticlimactic. I left you on the edge. But yes, I'm Kristen Tracy. I'm a design manager here at Intuit Design Systems. Where I was going with this is that we are in the best position to be talking about this topic, which is human and machine, the new design partnership. So there's 3 takeaways I want you all to be walking away from this talk with. The first is that humans are irreplaceable, despite what we're feeling in this crazy AI era. Design is evolving yet again, or so we're told, and your toolbox is getting an upgrade. How exciting. But let's jump into the first spicy topic, that humans are irreplaceable. So I don't know about you all. Actually, put your hands up if you've been asked this question. If you're scared that AI is going to take your job. Did anyone ask you that question? Do you have that thought? Yeah? Most of us? So when people ask me this, and I still get people asking this quite often, even people that work in tech, my answer has always been no. I personally don't feel like scary robots are here to kill us or take our jobs as designers. They're here to work with us. Now, with that being said, emerging technology always comes with casualties in the job market. Milkmen, video store clerks, carriage makers, lamplighters. We don't hear about these jobs anymore because they were casualties of emerging tech. But for designers, I'll tell you why we will not be joining that list. So a recent survey was done by Qualitrix. I don't know if everyone knows Qualitrix, but they do amazing studies. In this study, concerns over human connection were increasing year over year. So specifically, 51% of the consumers that they surveyed had said that human connection is disappearing, and they're concerned about having a human to connect with. And this is in regards to products that integrate AI into their support systems or their products in general. I don't know about you all, but it's really frustrating when you get on a phone line or in a support chat and you can't get a hold of a human. And you're just stuck in this vicious loop of automation. And the only way you can get your problem resolved is by talking to a human. It's absolutely frustrating, but this is the new normal, and this is getting worse and worse and worse as these products replace human chat agents with AI agents. So as long as customers are humans, the products that they consume need to be designed by humans and backed by humans. We have a superpower called empathy, and it was a big buzzword for a long time in the design world. I don't think it's a buzzword. I know it's overused quite a bit, but it is truly something that cannot be replicated, it can't be automated, and it's here to stay. And I want to go through a few examples of where AI, automation, technology couldn't replace human creativity. So on the left is an MRI machine. We've maybe seen one before, maybe we've been in one, but this one in particular was designed by GE Health. And what they did is they went into hospitals and observed children going into these machines, pediatric patients. And the kids were kicking and screaming and absolutely terrified of these machines. You couldn't get them in. So much, in fact, that 80% of these pediatric patients had to be sedated, which is horrible. They didn't like that. But the interesting part about this is that they could have just said, so what? We're still making money. People are going to get in these machines regardless. But they tapped into empathy. And so they went back and worked with Stanford D School to reimagine what it could be like to make this an actual pleasant experience for kids. And adults as well. I would love to get into that. And so what we're seeing on the right is an example of a reimagined MRI experience. So they turn these rooms and these machines into themes like pirate ships, space, mermaids, you name it. And these kids get dressed up, pretend they're going on an adventure, and it doesn't feel scary anymore. And so after they released this, pediatric sedation rates dropped from 80% to 10%. And it was such a success that kids were actually asking their parents if they can do it again the next day. Now that's night and day. And in my opinion, automation couldn't have done that. That's going above and beyond. Another example is Singapore's Transportation Authority. What we're seeing on the left is a bus shelter, one of their old bus shelters. And I'll say this looks a lot better than what the TTC has. So their worst looks better than our best. But they surveyed riders and bus drivers alike and found that wait times were not accurate and not accessible. There were no plugs, there was no Wi-Fi, again, first world problems, but this was a huge problem for, again, riders and bus drivers. Instead of just cramming technology into these bus shelters, which they ultimately did, we see screens, we see there's Wi-Fi, they also thought about connecting humans with their environment. So they added a library so you can read a book as you're waiting for the bus. There are swings, you can not just be sitting on a static park bench. There was greenery, so you feel connected to nature. And again, this is going above and beyond just providing a simple solution and slapping technology onto a problem. Another example is one from our backyard here at Intuit. So on the left is old TurboTax, pre-2018. And what we found here is that there was high friction. So a lot of manual data entry, difficult to navigate between sections. It felt like a very long form. It felt like going to the doctor's office. You know, we treated tax filing as a process and not a guided experience. Now here at Intuit, our founder, Scott Cook, invented something called Design for Delight, which is built upon design thinking. Very similar. We have a lot of methodologies that designers can pull out of their toolbox and use at their disposal. And so that's what the TurboTax team did here. They reimagined what an experience could look like if we actually applied design thinking to something as boring and mundane as filing your taxes. Now, after they did this, TurboTax is more step-by-step interview process, feels less drawn out. There is more automation, so you can upload your W-2 file if you're in the States or your T4 here in Canada, and we're able to just extract that data and cut down the steps required for users to actually file their taxes. Now, Design for Delight was a success for this project, but also for all the things that we do here at Intuit when it comes to building product. It's a core company value. It has improved NPS and user satisfaction, and this is proven time and time again. So it's heavily baked into our process for building products. So reviewing all of those examples, the bottom line here is that empathy cannot be engineered. Once again, I want you all to remember this. You have that superpower that's going to be with you, and it's going to lead throughout your career as a designer, despite what technology comes in. So takeaway number 2 is that design is evolving again. Now, again, I said so to speak at the beginning because we're always told this. You know, Framer came out and we were told designers are now going to be coding more. We're going to be more hybrid. And that didn't happen. Yes, we have unicorns. You are in the audience today, but we're not required to code. And same thing with motion. A lot of the times, you know, these tools come out and everyone's like, designers are going to have more motion baked into their process. Some of us do focus on motion, but it's not a requirement. So let's have a quick look at the history of product design. So in the 1990s, the birth of UX as we know it came out with Don Norman working with Apple. And back then, we designed using Photoshop and Dreamweaver. And if anyone here remembers what that was like, it was painful, and we're very grateful for the tools that we have today. It was very, very long process to design UIs with Photoshop and Dreamweaver, I'll tell you that. Then moving into the 2000s, we had development standard shift. We had CSS, XHTML, JavaScript, all these new technologies came out and changed how front end was built and how it looked. And that, in return, changed how we design. Also, smartphones took off with the introduction of the iPhone in 2008, which then in the 2010s led to mobile-first design, so it changed how we actually design. We also had an explosion of design systems. It was the big thing. Everyone wanted to build a design system, work on a design system. And I'll say it has similar sentiment to AI, where a lot of designers feel design systems squander creativity, kills their job. You know, here are these amazing systems that a PM can take and build a UI with. But we know that's not true to this day. Designers still exist, and design systems have existed with them for many years now. And then a big call out is Sketch and Figma were born, and we're very happy about that. I mean, it made us faster, it made us stronger, it made us more confident in our jobs. And I see that as an evolution to where we are today, where we now have vibe coding tools, no coding tools. We're designing for different AI modalities, and we have MCPs. So Figma MCP just came out in June, and in 6 months, it's already changed the game. And I'll show some examples later as to how it's helping us move faster. So we can see trends here that design never became obsolete. We adapted to every new tech that came out, every change, every tool. We were able to roll with it, and it made us stronger. So what does that all translate to today? I see this as less focus on execution and more focus on direction. So that can look like prompt choreography. This example is something called a prompt canvas. So the idea is that we're not putting random prompts into AI and saying, hey, make me a dashboard with a pink background. We're being very intentional about what we're feeding into these agents so that we're maximizing on the efficiency. A few other things here is AI-enabled design systems like I spoke about here at Intuit, making sure that your system is ready for AI. You're taking care of tech debt, you're making sure your tokens are in a really good shape, and that when you feed it into AI, it's seamless. The last point here is being at the intersection of business and users. And I truly believe that design has always been in the best position to play that role. Make sure that you're meeting and striking that balance. Next is being less of a tooling expert and more of a critical thinker. So I don't know about you all, but I get overwhelmed with how many features are in Figma. I'll ask some of you and you'll be like, I know everything. Like I can give you a tutorial in Figma, all the little bells and whistles. And if I talk to the rest of you, you're gonna say, I'm still figuring out auto layout. And I fall in that bucket. The point is that becoming an expert at a tool like Figma, there's less of reliance on that now, which is really exciting. We can focus a little bit more on the critical thinking. And that looks like going back to basics on usability heuristics. I mean, these are things that we should have always been practicing, but we're doubling down on this again. AI literacy and making sure we're not just putting out AI slop, that we're being very intentional about what we're building and what we're putting out, that it meets our product needs, our business needs, our user needs. And lastly, emphasis on accessibility. So this is not about just checking off WCAG and saying, yep, I'm compliant. It's about knowing that accessibility is complex and it takes a human to know. There are unseen disabilities, there are physical disabilities, there are mental disabilities, and we really need to account for all of them when we're designing. Here at Intuit, we have an accessibility team, which we're very fortunate to have. And with that, we have becoming an accessibility champion. So anyone at the company can take training and level up from 1, 2 to 3. And that means that in your day-to-day, you're really embodying what it means to be an accessibility champion. Whether you're a developer or a designer or a product manager, it doesn't matter. We also have a culture around accessibility. We have weekly lunch and learns with different speakers. We're making sure it's not just something we're checking off and saying we're doing. And next is becoming less of a contributor and more of a facilitator. Of course, we're still contributing, but we're less of a cog in the wheel. So we're here to guide collaboration in this new world. And that looks a little differently because you have your product managers, you have your developers, your content designers, your data scientists that you work with day to day. And on top of that, you have their agents and the AIs that they're using. And they should also be included in this new world of guiding collaboration. We also have systems thinking and service design, which are closely related. And this is about taking a step back and really thinking about how the little feature, the little product that we're trying to build impacts the broader system, really putting in the work to make sure that as a system, it's all cohesive. And this feedback loop map really helps to illustrate that. Okay, takeaway number 3 is your toolbox is getting an upgrade, which is so exciting. Now, you probably think to yourself, there are new AI tools coming out every day. I don't know what to start with. I don't know what the latest thing is. I don't know what's redundant. And you're probably getting overwhelmed. Now, the good news is you don't need to be. Use what's accessible to you. If you design in Figma and you have access to Figma Make, then use Figma Make. You don't have to get a fancy lovable license. You don't have to jump on the latest tool that everyone's talking about just because they are talking about it. Just get started with what is accessible to you, even if that's just ChatGPT. Next is don't cram in AI for AI's sake, because it looks disingenuous and it's going to show. Really think about where AI can help propel you and help you. If you use it for AI's sake, you're taking away from the creativity that you have inside you, which again, you should be leading with. And that is my last point. It's still the backbone. It's still you designing. You're still in charge. You're in the driver's seat. Just remember that. Now, I'll go through a few cases of how we at Intuit use AI in our design process. We're looking at Builder.io here. And if you're not familiar, it's a vibe coding tool. What's cool about this is we're able to use our own design system with Builder. And what we're looking at is QuickBooks. So we can vibe code QuickBooks and build on top of it. We can create features very rapidly, have a conversation about it, and decide if we want to proceed or not. This is enabling designers to move faster. And it's enabling design system compliance. So that means there's no more circumventing the design system, breaking the design system, detaching components where not necessary. And designers don't need to be experts at the design system either to get started. So again, there's 2 takeaways here that we're loving: quicker feedback loops and design system compliance. Next is very similar. It's Cursor. So here I'm using Cursor to vibe code a table. I'm able to create this table and determine how many buttons should be in the header. I can stress test how many pages should appear and what should happen if we go to 2,000 pages versus 50 pages. If pagination is more appropriate, or if we want to have proper pagination at the bottom. I can play around without a developer, make these decisions, and go back to my team. So like the Builder example, the power is in my hands. This is just another way for me to play and get an opinion and more accurate feel for enhancements before I actually drill in further. And lastly, more on the research side, I don't know about you all, but I used to hate distilling data from research. It's very, very long-winded. It takes so long. You do your usability testing, and then you're like, oh, now I've got to generate a report. How am I going to do this? What we do here is we dump our data into Copilot. And this enables us to use natural language to ask it questions, pull out specific insights, and along with that, create artifacts like mind maps. So we're going from a week to 2 weeks of trying to create a report on our research to minutes. We're able to generate these insights and share them with our team in no time. And then in return, make faster decisions and move forward. So I'm going to leave you with a quote by a guy named Frank Chimero. He is a really awesome design founder who talks a lot about design and AI. So I highly recommend you go on YouTube, listen to his talks, read his blog. But this really resonated with me. Thinking of AI as an instrument recenters the focus on practice. Instruments require a performance that relies on technique. The horn makes the sound, but how and what you blow into it matters. The drum machine keeps time and plays the samples, but what you sample and how you swing on top of it becomes your signature. So what he's trying to say is AI is like your tuba or your flute. And a flute doesn't play itself. Yes, it can make beautiful noise. It has the capability to do that, but it's the artist, it's the musician that actually makes the music. And I think that's a beautiful analogy for design and AI. So I hope my 3 takeaways resonate with you all. Humans are irreplaceable. Design is evolving again, and your toolbox is getting a really cool upgrade. Thank you.